So I hear a lot of you tell me that you would rather I teach you the material than Dr. Berger, Professor Berger. I learned in a training that I had Thursday afternoon when I kicked some of you out of my class during ninth period, and then also for tutoring. I was listening to a training and they told me that Dr. Berger or Professor Berger actually used to be a writer on Saturday Night Live. So, he's funny and he's been paid to be funny. And so now, he's doing math. He's a genius in math and he's trying to be funny about it. I probably find it funnier than you do. But nonetheless, some of you want to hear me teach it and you want me to tell you in your teacher's words what you're doing. So for lesson 4.3, what you're going to be doing over and over again is multiplying decimals with fractions. And a lot of the times it's going to be money. Now remember when, let's say you are going to take, you're going to find 1/3 of, I don't know, $15. Okay, we can start with something easy like that. 1/3 of $15. What did I tell you the of means? Over and over again, I told a lot of you, what does of mean? When you see that, when you see the word of in a math problem, that means you're going to multiply to find out that answer. So you would take 1/3 times $15. Okay? When we multiply a fraction with a whole number, we have to change that whole number to a fraction also. How do we change a whole number to a fraction? You put a 1 in the denominator. I've been asking a lot of my students this, and some of them say 0, but they're on the right track. You're on the right track. It's 1, though. It's a 1 in the denominator. Okay. Now, I'm going to not cross-simplify first. I'm just going to go ahead and multiply this straight across so you can see. 15 is in the numerator because 1 times 15 is 15, and 3 times 1 is 3. And then what did we say the fraction bar also means? Divide. So 15 divided by 3 is 5. And look, you could have done that to find 1/3 of it. If you took 15 and split it up into 3 parts, those would be thirds. That's the same thing as dividing by 3. So 15 divided by 3 is 5. But let's do money that has dollars and cents. Now remember, you guys, if you need to rewind or replay something, do it. You're in charge of your own learning in my class. You go at your own pace. That doesn't mean you stop and you play games and get on Call of Duty or whatever you're doing. You listen to the math and you do the math at your pace. So there's some people that move really fast and there's some people that need to hear it a couple times. If you need to hear it a couple times, then listen to it a couple of times. Here's some a money problem. You're going out to dinner with some of your friends, and you're going to pay for, because you somehow, I don't know, you won the lottery. So you're going to pay for 4/5 of the bill. And the bill was $22.50. Okay. $22.50. So you're going to take 4/5. What did we say of means? It means times. So times, I'm going to draw a multiplication dot because you might see that sometimes. Times, and then $22.50. Remember that 50 cents is 22 and 50 hundredths. And you might be saying, how did you know that? Well, remember that time I taught you this trick where you take a 1 and you put it under the decimal and zeros under all the numbers after it, and that's going to be your denominator, 50 over 100. And that's what we have here, 50 over 100. Okay, which is a half. And that makes sense. 50 cents is half a dollar. So we have $22 and then half a dollar, 22 and a half. Now, I want to take 4/5 times 22 and a half. Now, that's my $22.50. When we take fractions times a mixed number, we're going to have to do this right here. So now it's 4/5 times 2 times 22 is 44. 44 plus 1 is 45 halves. 45 halves. Okay, this time, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to simplify before I multiply. 5 and 45 have a common factor that will divide into both of them. It's 5. 5 goes into 5 once. 5 goes into 45 9 times. And then 4 and 2 have a common factor. What is it? It's 2. 2 goes into 2 once. 2 goes into 4 twice. Now I have these smaller numbers. It's much easier to work with. Instead of 4 times 45, I'll just take 2 times 9 and 1 times 1, which is 1. Oh my goodness, look what we have here. This is what we get when we turn a whole number into a fraction, like 18, it would be 18 over 1. We'll now turn a fraction into a whole number. 18 over 1 is equal to 18. So you're going to end up paying, because you won the lottery, $18. That's what 4/5 of $22.50 is $18. Okay, so we changed both of these to fractions before we multiply them. Now we're going to do it a different way. The way that you just saw was multiplying two fractions together. We got them both in fraction form. This time, we're going to have them both in decimal form. Which one's not in a decimal? It's the 4/5. We're going to have to change that to a decimal. How do you do that, my little geniuses? T-bow. I love this. T-bow, top in, bottom out. Okay, I put the top number, which is the numerator, in the box, and the denominator, that's the bottom number, outside the box. Or some of you like my story where the man is sitting on top of the horse, the cowboy's sitting on top of the horse. He gets off of his horse, like a cowboy would do, and go into his house. And the horse, which is the denominator, has to stay outside the house. He doesn't come in the house. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and divide this. 5, does it go into 4? No. Now, this is the part where we put decimal, decimal, 0. Decimal, decimal, 0. Okay? Once you get that decimal up there in your answer, you're done with that decimal. You don't have to keep working with it. You're finished. And what are we going to treat this for like it's a what? Like it's a 40. So 5 goes into 40. How many times? 8. 8 times 5 is 40. I have 0 left over. And I just changed 4/5 to a decimal, which is 8/10. Now, the last step to solving this is take the money times the fraction. And I did not write that very good. Ooh. It should be there. We don't line up our decimals when we multiply. That's for everything else, adding and subtracting. But when we multiply, we just set it up, we line up the numbers. We don't worry about the decimals until the very end, remember? 0 times 8 is 0. 8 times 5 is 40. Carry the 4. 8 times 2 is 16. Plus 4 is 20. Carry the 2. 8 times 2 is 16. Plus 2. Well, that's 18. Notice I'm not going to put my decimal in this layer of my products. Okay, now what happens when we start a new row? First thing we do is place a 0. There's our placeholder. Now let's multiply through. 0 times 0, 0. 0 times 5, 0. 0 times 2, 0. 0 times 2, 0. And I ran out of numbers. Now what happens? Add them together. Add these straight up and down. You know this from elementary school. All right, now if you leave this as their answer, you're going to get it wrong. Why? You need to count how many decimal places are in your problem. So look at your 2250. How many decimal places or decimal numbers are there? There's 2. And how many in the first one? The second number has 1. How many is that all together? 3. You need 3 decimal places in your answer. 1, 2, 3, and that's where it's going to go. So your answer is 18. You can drop all those zeros if you want. Remember, that's what we got on the other one. You were going to pay $18 of that bill. So you can either change your fraction to a decimal before multiplying, or you can change your decimal to a fraction before multiplying. Okay, the end.